A very warm good morning to all of you. Dear students, once again, welcome back to the English literature class. Today, we are continuing with the same short story which we have started in the last class. Unit number 6, title of the short story is An Angel in Disguise, written by T.S. Arthur. In the last class, we were having an introduction to the story and we have seen the first part of the story. There we have seen a poor lady who were hated by all the people in her village. She died right in front of her 3 young children. There was a reason behind her death because she was a complete alcoholic. Due to the excess consumption of alcohol, she lost her control, fallen upon the threshold of her own door and died. But once when she died, the hatred of the people towards her, it has got changed in the minds of the people. All the people of the village were there to support, to help the 3 children of that lady. Okay, so instead of anger, all people started to feel compassion, sympathy towards her. So the people of the village gathered around the house of that lady. That's what we were discussing in the last class. Let's see what had happened later. What is to be done with the children? That was the chief question of. The dead mother would go underground and be forever beyond all care or concern of the villagers. But the children must not be left to starve. So in the minds of the people who were gathered there, all the people were having a question. What was that? What is to be done with the children? So one among those people, he just asked it. What is to be done with the children? One of the person asked. It was the chief question in the minds of all the people. Because all the people were knowing, the lady who died, she has to go underground. She has to be buried. So it's a matter about the person who died. Then what about the people who are alive? She's having 3 kids. And what should be done with those 3 kids? They cannot left to starve. They must not be left to starve. Something must be done for the children. So that's what the first question in the minds of the people. What is to be done with the children? After considering the matter and talking it over with his wife, Farmer Jones said that he would take John and do well by him, now that his mother was out of the way. And Miss Alice, who had been looking out for a bound girl, concluded that it would be charitable in her to make choice of Katy, even though she was too young to be of much use for several years. So the first child, as we have seen, his name was John, 12-year-old. So Farmer John, he just consulted with his wife and finally decided to take up the responsibility of the first child, 12-year-old John, because he was having some intention behind it, because we have already seen John was 12-year-old, strong enough to manage his own earnings by living with a good farmer. So it was possible, and Farmer John was knowing it very well, so he thought of getting a help from John in his cultivation, in his work. So that way he was ready to take up the responsibility of John. Now the second child, her name is Katy, and Katy, Miss Alice was ready to take up the responsibility of the child. And in that matter also there was a reason. What was that? Because Miss Alice had been looking for a bound girl. She was looking out for a bound girl. Means in the case of Katy, she's an orphan. She's an orphan right now. So nobody will be coming with any kind of complaint. if Miss Alice is taking the responsibility of Katie, and Miss Alice can make use of the child to manage the household activities. So that's why she was taking up the responsibility. And what the other people will think, they will think that Miss Alice has done it something like a charitable work. Even though she was too young to be of much use for several years, though she is very young, not able to do all the works, but still she thought of making use of the child for several years. I could do much better, I know, said Miss Alice, but as no one seems inclined to take her, I must act from a sense of duty, expect to have trouble with the child, for she is an undisciplined thing, used for having her own way. So the lady, Miss Alice, she is expressing what is there in her mind, because she already concerned like it will be something like a charitable work. But in order to make others believe that she is doing some charitable work, she says, I could do much better, I know, said Miss Alice. But no one seems inclined. Inclined means, there's a word. The meaning of the word inclined means willing. No one seems willing to take her. Nobody is ready to take up the responsibility of the second child. That's why I am going to take up the responsibility of the child, though her real intention was something else. I must act from a sense of duty, expect to have trouble with the child. So, once if I take up the responsibility of the child, I'll be having only troubles. For she's an undisciplined girl. She's not having any discipline. Since she is so young, used to having her own way. So this is what Miss Ailes has told about the second child. But no one said, I'll take Maggie. Pitying glances were cast on her wan and wasted form, and thoughts were troubled on her account. Mothers bought cast-off garments, and removing her soiled and ragged clothes, dressed her in clean attire. A few new words are there. First one, pitying glances, which means sad looks. All the people were having a sympathetic look towards Maggie. Second word, wan and wasted, which means pale and thin, means colorless. There is not enough color on the face of Maggie. Color in the sense there is no any kind of symbols like she's having enough blood, the reddish color, the blush on her face. And next word is soiled. Soiled means dirty. Fourth word is ragged. Ragged means old and torn. She was not having good clothes, ragged clothes, old and torn. And the final word, that is attire. Attire means put on special clothes, good clothes, wearing good clothes. Now let's see the meaning. But no one said, I'll take Maggie. So first two children, they have taken away by two different people. But the last child who was bedridden, there were nobody to take up the responsibility. Nobody said that I will take up the responsibility of Maggie. Pitying glances were cast on her wan and wasted form, and thoughts were troubled on her account. So people were looking at her with sympathy, sad looks, but nobody was take up the trouble on her account, because they were looking at her on her faces, which was pale and thin. There was no blush on her face, means she was very weak in nature, and thoughts were troubled on her account. So when those people who were looking at her, there were thoughts in their mind, and it was about what all kinds of trouble they will be getting if they are taking up the responsibility of Maggie. Mothers bought cast-off garments. Cast-off means the clothes which we throw out or we consider as useless once it is losing its color or it is not fit for us. So in such cases, what we will do, we will keep it in a place, we won't use it. Okay, cast off means rejected. In other word, rejected clothes means for us it is useless one. Okay, so mothers bought cast off garments and removing her soiled and ragged clothes. Dirty, old, and torn clothes were removed and dressed her in clean attire, in very special clothes. Means for Maggie, it's some special clothes. Though for the other people, it is cast off garments. Okay, so put on her in special clothes. The sad eyes and patient face of the little ones touched many hearts and even knocked at them for entrance, but none opened to take her in. Who wanted a bedridden child? So Maggie was looking at all the people. Sad eyes and patient face of the little one touched many hearts because she was looking so pathetic. Her condition was very pathetic, and that itself touched a lot of people. It touched many hearts and even knocked at them for entrance. If suppose if they are ready willing, but nobody was willing, but no one opened to take her inside their heart. Touched the heart, but they were not ready to open their heart for her. Who wanted a bedridden child? Who will take up the burden of a bedridden child? Take her to the poorhouse, said a rough man, of whom the question, what to be done with Maggie, was asked. Nobody's going to be bothered with her. So, a person, a rough man, has told to take Maggie to the poorhouse. Take Maggie to the poorhouse. That was the answer of a rough man who already asked a question. In the previous part, we have already seen what to be done with Maggie. He asked the same question and he told the answer to that question. Take her to the poorhouse. Because nobody is going to be bothered with her. Nobody, since the mother is died, who is going to take up the responsibility? Who is going to bother about her? So that's why he said, take her to the poorhouse. Poorhouse means a place where very poor people were sent to live and given work to do. Okay, something like an orphanage or old age homes can be said. Poorhouse, a place where very poor people were sent to live and given work to do. Okay, so one of the persons he told take her to the poorhouse. The poorhouse is a sad place for a sick and helpless child, answered one. So one person who was having some concern towards this child, who was having some humanitarian concept, he told poorhouse is a very difficult place for a sick and helpless child because nobody will be taking care of the child, answered one. For your child or mine, said the other, lightly speaking. But for this brat, it would prove a blessed chance. She will be kept clean, have healthy food, and be doctored, which is more than can be said of her past condition. So what the reply he got, the person told the poorhouse is a sad place for a sick and helpless child. For that reply, he got an answer from one of the person. What he told, for your child or mine, are you worried about your child or my child? No, we are not worried about our child. It's about a child who is an orphan, who is not having mother or father, who is a bedridden child. But for this brat, there is a meaning, and that word is brat. Brat means a child. For this child, it will be proof a blessed chance. So it will be a blessed change because we have already seen she was waking up or she was always being carried by her mother. She was not having good clothes. So in such a condition, for this child, it will be a blessing. She will be kept clean. At least she will be kept clean. Have healthy food. Her mother was not feeding her with good food. But since she is a bedridden child, if she is being sent to the poorhouse, she will be getting healthy food and be doctored. Enough medical support help will be provided, which is more than can be said of her past condition, which will be definitely better than her past condition. This is what one person replied to the person who was worried about Maggie. So, dear students, I hope you have got a clear idea about what we have discussed today. Just go through a textbook, revise it once or twice, and learn all the main points very well. Try to understand it very well. With this, we are winding up today's class. In the next class, we will see the upcoming part of the same story. Still, we meet in the next class. I would like to sign off. Thank you.